Early in your research process, we encourage you to think about why you're doing your research and why you may or may not want to engage with interested parties. This will then help guide decision-making about your next steps for engaging with these interested parties. Interested parties are those groups of people who may be impacted or care about your work. When considering your project or forecast, you need to ask yourself, who might I impact with gathering or analyzing these data? As a scientist, you're not alone in this world, and what you do and discover can have impacts beyond your initial plan of action. But considering those around you and your work can not only help inform a better project and product, but can also engage the right people for sustained success and broader impacts. Finding those people does require some extra work, though, and explaining your goals clearly is important.
And just really explaining sort of like, well, I'm a researcher and my motivations in coming here are because I really want to know. I have no way of understanding what a rural farmer in, coastal Bahia believes about agriculture unless I come and ask you. Like, there's no way for me to know unless I come and ask you. And he's like, well, why do you want to know? And then I'm like, well, because but then that was, what I would have thought is like an hour-long interview if you can just like jump into it because you don't have to do any of that context, becomes like a 2-hour conversation because they want to know also like why you're here and like how did you find them and like what does a randomized control trial mean and like all kinds of stuff. And I found like those were some of the most enriching interactions too, because everything was more real, right? Where you're like, oh, I connected with this person and now they've thought of things that they never thought of before. I'm thinking of things I've never thought of before. We're learning about each other and like it can be just really wonderful and open and like kind of rejuvenating. And I find that to be super rewarding. And I feel like most people are, they don't want to be taken advantage of. They don't want their rights to be violated, but they also are happy to be approached and like love to be included in things, and like the idea that their perspectives are interesting or valued or relevant is also like really fun and exciting for a lot of people, right?
We actually was funded to do some study to model, dredge clothes disposal for major dredging campaigns. And so we actually realized for our research to be useful, we need the regulators and consultants to be on board with what we have done. So we run workshops with consultants and the regulators and the researchers. And then we actually went to the EPA to ask them whether or not they what kind of format they would like. So they told us they need kind of a best practice modeling guideline that they can use because they don't have expertise to evaluate environmental impact modeling studies, but they want us to provide basically a list that they can be sure the consultants have followed the best practice when they do the modeling, so they can be comfortable that their results were robust and trustworthy.
We're more looking at the, I suppose farmers would be the people who may be able to use this as well. We're also looking at more, I suppose, more like a research aspect. Maybe people work in Chagas or perhaps people working culture. These are just organizations. Chagas to work in mostly in terms of crops and trees, and culture they're the organization that work with the trees in Ireland. So that they're kind of the people that we would most likely to be using the tool, but it's going to be available for farmers as well. So we have to make this user friendly and also be accessible to a wide variety of people. So there's I suppose there's an onus when we're developing the app that we don't make it too complicated, but a complex enough that people can understand it as well.
I would put a link. If you have any questions, just write to me. So I spend a considerable amount of time replying to people's questions. And so we had dialogues. I would send out surveys once to find out what was most important to them. So it wasn't, I was doing this on my own, trying to understand what they needed without a conscious decision that I needed their input. I don't know if that makes sense, But it's
like a curiosity kind of
a
more than
curiosity sort of thing, and where should I plan next?
Whatever reason you choose to involve interested parties or prospective forecasting users, engagement has the potential to elevate your project considerably. The engagement can come down to three important concepts: efficiency, effectiveness, and adaptation. When designing an experiment, project, or forecast, engaging with interested parties can be efficient in that you save effort by optimizing around needs at the beginning of the project and not needing to add things in as you try to work through other aspects of your project later. In tandem, you also save time by defining a problem more clearly before getting started. You're allowing others with different experiences to help you pinpoint and narrow in on an identifiable problem and an achievable task.
Or we worked closely with ODF on like what questions they wanted, what information they wanted to be included, and how they wanted to like do scenario modeling. And then we just ran scenarios and wrote the report with them. And that led to another increase to up to $3 million for the program. So kind of cool to see like an actual real world impact.
Realized that people were interested in it, like boaters and swimmers, and the actually oystermen or aquaculturalists. That's when I became interested in the engagement. So I would engage. Maybe I got this from the cue from NOAA, the organization, or not, but I went out trying to validate these, trying to get citizen science involved, put money into Alliance for Chesapeake Bay so that they had citizen scientists out there. So they actually went out on the bay and they had to put in a jellyfish category such that I could validate these forecasts.
Increasing our effectiveness or impact is also critical for better project outcomes and better forecasts. If we can forecast the right thing in the right units on the right time scale for the decisions being made, we can have the greatest impact on the community, business, and government. Those who are living in an area where these decisions may be made offer some of the greatest insights into what the real life circumstances are that surround these decisions. These circumstances or variables can then be added into your models and account for a significant portion of variation or uncertainty. Using your resources to make better informed forecasts is incredibly important and may even involve on-the-ground interviews and asking good questions.
I think probably I knew like participatory research. I think I knew that term. And so I think the idea that I should consult with people and like ask their opinions on things, I knew. But I think just being thoughtful and reflective, maybe if I give myself credit for anything, it's like that level of intentionality, right? Where I wanted my work to be useful, right? And so I did know that if I wanted it to be useful, someone had to want it. Someone else had to think that it was interesting. Do you feel like this project, the Sudden Okta project, is successful or like has been a success?
Yes. So from both like a science perspective, it's been great because our models are better than they would have been. So like we can showcase that aspect of it, but we can also show like real world impact. So like the 2019 workshop that we did out there ended up with them getting a $500,000 budget increase, which it's kind of large because their budget was $2 million to start with. So it went from 2 to 2.5. So
yeah,
fairly decent jump.
Yeah.
Because the politicians could go, oh, here's how that makes a difference in terms of timing to arrival at this port.
Adaptation is also key to short and long-term forecasting success. By working with interested people and prospective forecasting users, you can make these adjustments smaller, less costly, and more timely, as these people can generally see when things are changing and draw this to your attention. Incorporating a variety of ideas and insights will only keep the work moving forward as things change and will create more accurate and descriptive forecasts for people to use and benefit from. Listening to those interested parties or people in the area can lead you to good adjustments and better targeted forecasts.
I suppose this is the main thing that like we'll have like the maps and such, but we will people will be able to download the data from any of the visualizations that we supply, and also to be able to get like the base version of the model itself and or the code if they do wish to check anything as well. And it is possible to download the data as well. So we'll show that summarizations, and if the summarizations that we're presenting are not effective, we're happy to change them. That's kind of what I guess may work in theory.
When you think about your project, don't just think about the standard scientific variables that come with any project. Think about why you are doing the research, the impact you hope to have, and who you might be impacting along the way. Bringing in the insights of people, both in and outside the pure science community, could save you time, money, and make your project with or without forecasting significantly more valuable in the long term. Think about different business practices and underlying goals. At the very minimum, informing communities of your results will increase understanding of ecological patterns influencing their area. Informing communities can also lead to better future models and considerations of larger scale problems. Honoring people's experiences, traditions, and culture is critical to strengthening relationships and impact surrounding forecasting work. Bringing on interested party engagement may be more work up front, but will only improve your efficiency, effectiveness, and adaptation in the long run. Never stop asking yourself the why of your research or reflecting on how you can incorporate co-production or engagement better into your forecasting and research.
They have economists, basically. And it's good to bring in what is the value of your product, and is it on a cost benefit basis? Is very important to know. At any operational organization, is it worth putting or paying me and putting money into this project if people aren't getting value out of it? And what is the value of it? So we always try to get an economic value to say, okay, this product is worth so much to the people in terms of dollars. That never really worked out for the jellyfish. For the HABs, it's a little easier to do that in terms of aquaculture and so forth.
From the context of working effectively and respectfully with traditional owners, it's from an organisational perspective, it's very much about demonstrating the community benefit.
Affect the ability of the disease to spread, and then they're worried about getting to a specific port in the next county over. So that's like the whole management goal, because then that all the timber and organ ships out of that one port. So if that port is infected with this disease, they can no longer ship their timber out of it. Oregon's economy runs on forestry in a large part. Yeah. And it's such a massive part of their economy where it's not in other places. And I think it's like 80 or 90% of all the timber gets shipped out of that one port for them. So from an economic standpoint, it is the engine of Oregon. So they care a lot about it not affecting that.
And I think to some extent there has to be an acknowledgement of, I want you to co-own this. I didn't say that, right? I behaved in that way to some extent, but I never, I think, articulated I want this to be our project, our dissertation, which at the time would have been a little bit disingenuous because I kind of wasn't there yet. But in hindsight, I think that would have been better, and I could have been more successful even in the revision of the project. I think even that survey, probably they would have pushed back more on some of the survey questions if they'd known that I wanted them to kind of feel a little bit more ownership over it, right?